Hello, friends. Welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast presented to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app. This is not a mirage. We are here again a mere hours after we concluded our first podcast of the day. I'm Johnny Venerable. That's Bo Brock. Bo, emergency podcast. Breaking news. The Arizona Cardinals, via Ian Rappaport on Twitter, Rap Sheet, friend of the program, have removed the addendum. They have struck out the addendum. This per Rap Sheet, the Cardinals removed the independent study clause from Kyler Murray's $250.5 million contract, sources say. A move, by the way, that happened yesterday. So Kyler Murray knew of this today when he spoke to you and the rest of the media. What do we make of it?
Man, I mean, a complete, absolute, utter debacle for this organization that should be a celebrated moment for the first time in forever. They find their white whale and they get that franchise quarterback on a second contract, a history-making contract, and they fumble the bag somehow. The organization fumbles the bag. They fight for this clause, this addendum, this independent study addendum to be in that. And, it becomes public knowledge, and then the circus comes to town. Then Kyler Murray takes the podium today to defend himself because he took shot after shot after shot. And the organization finally decided, look, it's not worth it. We didn't mean for this to happen. But look, in this day and age, I mean, nothing stays covered here. Nothing. It all becomes uncovered. It's inevitable. And the Arizona Cardinals, this is a massive misstep as far as their relationship with Kyler Murray, which they're locked into through 2028. But still, this is brutal. I mean, especially in the day and age of player empowerment. This is something that Kyler Murray can point to and say, what the hell happened here? You guys did this to me. Nobody else has had this done to them before. And I got raked over the coals. What are you going to do to make this better?
Fan base in the comments on Twitter clearly mostly siding with Kyler Murray, mostly siding with the player in this specific case. And you and I are very pro Cardinals, but we admit that they fumbled this entire situation. You can't get into this kind of financial commitment with somebody or say that you're going to commit to somebody like this and then put this kind of language in a clause where even the most esteemed NFL reporters that have been around this game for 20 plus years have never seen anything remotely close to this. Agents, contract negotiators, teams, former GMs, nobody's seen anything like this. And so I think just push came to shove today. They saw it was doing much more harm than good. I don't know at the end of the day what it was supposed to do anyway, because you're already paying this guy. Questions arose about how they would even enforce this. And it has blown up to the point where Kyler Murray, he comes out with, I think, more leverage than he had before he signed the contract. Because now, to your point, Bo, we can say, guys, you guys did not handle this well. I'm over here. I've carried this organization for 3 years. I've helped you come out of the cellar. I was the first overall pick. And this is how you treat players. It's not a good indictment on the Arizona Cardinals if they hope to get future star players. And I'm willing to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, a mulligan. But before we do that, Bo, this is the statement that was just released by the Arizona Cardinals, presumably by Michael Bidwell, although it's not credited to Michael Bidwell. So let's just call it the Cardinals front office. After seeing the distraction it created, we removed the addendum from the contract. It was clearly perceived in ways that were never intended. Our confidence in Kyler Murray is as high as it's ever been, and nothing demonstrates our belief in his ability to lead this team more than the commitment reflected in this contract. Well, I mean, you intended it to be a slight because you think that he prioritizes video games and browsing the internet sometimes more than studying. That's what this addendum basically signified. And so I know who's at fault here. Majority is like, even if you feel like Kyler Murray has immaturity issues, leadership issues, well, then just don't commit to him. Like, you have a choice here, right? You could just not sign and extend him. You could trade him. But they said all offseason, we love Kyler Murray. We've never even entertained the idea of trading him. Well, if that's the case, then why is there a clause like this in here?
It was something that was fought for, that Michael Bidwell at the time believed very much so. And he thought he was being smart. He was covering his ass. And the Cardinals asked for over a $250 million investment for Kyler Murray. And it just completely just crushed a celebratory moment for this organization. And here's what it does to kind of piggyback what you were saying. I mean, if the Arizona Cardinals come and fall flat in 2022 and they have an awful season, Kyler Murray next offseason using this could ask for his way out of Arizona despite inking a contract through 2028.
Yeah.
Or on the other side of this, if Kyler Murray comes out and balls out and guys like Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow, they get huge mega extensions that beat Kyler Murray's contract, Kyler Murray can use this as a weapon to get himself back to the table to renegotiate another contract because this was fumbled so badly on the Arizona Cardinals' part.
Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating because, as you mentioned, it was supposed to be a celebratory time. We want to talk about everything and anything outside of Kyler Murray with this 53-man roster because this conversation has dominated the offseason, right? We want to talk about Isaiah Simmons and we want to talk about Hollywood Brown and Rondell Moore, but this has dominated the news cycle for better or worse. This has been a lightning rod. And so when the Cardinals finally get the deal done, they finally put pen to paper and we're saying, great, it was a celebratory pod that day. And then literally on the nose, several days later, this comes out and it has cast a dark cloud over training camp on this season potentially. How do they even cope with something like this for the rest of the season? Because even if they start out well, certainly if he has a bad game, he throws 4 interceptions in a week 11, whatever, and they have an ugly loss, people will go to the fact that, well, the Cardinals don't think you study, it's late in the season. Is the only way to really kind of get out of this ahead of it is to have a strong second half?
I mean, even then, I mean, this is such a brutal misstep that it's going to be tough to repair the relationship. And the flack that Kyler Murray took all week long because this addendum became public, it really is. I believe it's going to be tough for them throughout. And this is from the jump. This is from inking an extension through 2028. Yeah, I see that low tone component. HBO absolutely is about to win an Emmy with all the drama that's going to be within those walls on the regular season of Hard Knocks. I mean, this is just how do you recontract with your franchise quarterback? How do you regain his trust after he just took he's in the barracks taking grenades there? I mean, how do you fix that? I mean, that's this organization. I'll tell you what step one needs to be. It needs to be beyond a statement through Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport. We have to see the brain trust that is Steve Keim and Michael Bidwell do
tomorrow.
Franchise quarterback. Yes, it needs
tomorrow.
to happen. They need to answer. They need to be held accountable for why this went so awry and why they wanted to fight for that. Because
what could they even say at a press conference tomorrow, Bo? If you guys show up at the press conference tomorrow and it's Steve Keim and hopefully more importantly Michael Bidwell there ready to take questions, how do you even respond to, guys, what were you thinking initially when you insisted on this clause?
I would think it's going to be very similar to the day that when they fired Steve Wilkes, and it was two people saying we're accountable, we're being held accountable for this. We were big on that, and then they didn't really take any questions. There wasn't real accountability. Things got better. There wasn't any other direction to go. They made some right decisions after that. They're two guys that want to win, but as far as like getting out of their own way, they just have there's moments like this where they haven't been able to do that. I mean, that. I know that Michael Bidwell wants to win. He wants to win just as bad as anybody in the NFL. But it's just I don't know where these ideas come from that he needs to do it much different than what's already been done in NFL history. The only thing that really changes here is the money, is the dollars. It just goes up, and you figure out what.
Follow the plan of the other organizations that have signed their young franchise quarterbacks.
Don't reinvent the wheel. It's not. I mean, it's absolutely, the GM's correct. It's a shit show. And it doesn't have to be. This should be something that should be a celebration. You got it right. You took yourself out of that gigantic hole that was 2018. You got back to the playoffs, and man, I mean, to take this big of a misstep at this part of the offseason, things were trending in the right direction with this damn team, Gunny. We were talking about it. This offseason rivaled the end of their regular season. It was going the wrong direction. Rodney Hudson decided to pivot and come back and not retire like it was speculated that he might retire. Kyler Murray signs the extension. Things are going well. And then the addendum comes out. It becomes public knowledge, and it's just been a three-ring circus since.
Rap Sheet put out a video that I sent to you like 45 minutes before this news broke, and he was kind of trying to rationalize this whole thing from the Cardinals' perspective. He's somebody that's tapped into the organization. A lot of people thought initially that he got a lot of his insight, from people around the Cardinals pertaining to why this clause was there. He mentioned that Michael Bidwell was insistent on having it, but he also mentioned that the Cardinals just have not dealt, and we've talked about this umpteen times since this has gone down. They have not dealt with giving out this kind of money to any singular player. Let's put Kyler Murray aside. They've never put together a deal of this magnitude, nothing even close to this. This is, I think, double than the highest contract they've ever put together. And I'm not making excuses for the organization, but this was the first time, and it did not go well. It did not go as planned, right? They fumbled the scenario. I don't know if they necessarily fumbled the negotiation process, publicly and privately up until this point. I think if a lot of people said, hey, Kyler's going to ask for a new contract, he's going to get one in July, most people would be happy about that. But just the way it came out, and it's funny, it's not even about the money. Like, they're going to pay him so much money. It's not even about, it's the embarrassment that he had to go through, the rationales to feel like you had to protect your billion-dollar organization from a player that's made you a lot of money, that's kept you relevant, that's helping you get nationally televised games, that's keeping you in the postseason race. So again, I think it's just one of those things where the Cardinals probably just plead ignorance if they meet with the media. Like, guys, we were probably overly cautious because we talked about it. Larry Fitzgerald's made $180 million in his career with the Cardinals. That's the most of anybody. Kyler Murray almost gets all of that in his guarantees. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those situations where the Cardinals, they didn't know how to handle it, right? This is not, and we repeat this a lot, this is not the Packers where they redo Aaron Rodgers' contract with hundreds of millions of dollars every 3 off seasons. This is not, the Kansas City Chiefs. They handled that Mahomes deal seamlessly. That the Cardinals they were not fully prepared to put together this kind of deal because of the blowback.
They don't get a hall pass, though. I mean, they don't get a hall pass because, hey, we've never been there before. I mean, you want to be one of the 32 NFL franchises, you got to operate like one. You got to treat players with the same respect. You can't try to figure out how you can truly just avoid a catastrophe as far as your quarterback not working out. Like a lot of these contracts haven't. Like Jared Goff, it ended in a divorce in LA. He's now the quarterback of the Detroit Lions. Carson Wentz is on his 3rd organization. Deshaun Watson's on his 2nd organization. Like, these haven't traditionally really worked out. Mahomes has worked out, but this team tried to be the smartest team in the room of teams that have been doing this forever. Like, don't get too cute. Just go by the book, pay your guy what his value is, and avoid any just mud in your face scenarios like this. It's simple. I mean, yeah. You can't use the excuse like, hey, we hadn't been there before. And is that something to be proud of, that you haven't been able to draft and develop a quarterback to get to this point? Like, that's not a fair excuse. It's just, I think that what the fan base wants now, and whether or not the team's never been held hostage by the public or its fans or anything like that, and it's an NFL organization, they can do what they want. But I think what people want now is true accountability. This was such a mess.
Do you think we get it? Do you think we get it?
I don't think so. I hope so, but I don't think so.
It would have to come from Michael Bidwell too, because his name's in the public now, for better or worse. Like, if it came from Steve, we know Steve didn't negotiate this contract, the intricacies of this. He always talks about, I have a contract guy, right? Remember, Steve always talks about that. I have somebody helping me with this language. Michael's the contract guy for this contract. He's former attorney, very hands-on. I was commending him all offseason. Michael, he was the one that steadied the waters after the social scrub, before the draft. He supposedly reached out to Kyler Murray. There were rumors that he took his private jet to Kyler Murray's parents' house and met with Kyler, and everything was good to go. And yeah, it should be more simple than it is.
Isn't that the biggest plot twist, right? The guy that is perceived like the one that wants to get him to the promised land and saying all the right things, doing all the right things for the most part. And then, we see this whole offseason and all eyes are on Kyler, right? The ball's in Kyler's court. Does he want to be here, And then at the end of the day, it was the organization that made the misstep, the one that people that really truly upset people in the fan base and how they perceive Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals.
Also, like, I don't think they were out to make Kyler Murray the villain this offseason, but we've talked about it. He's been taking arrows and shots all offseason. He has been 90% of the time the direct, punching bag for folks with this organization. The Cardinals with this, the front office and Michael Bidwell, they have flipped the script. They have made him a vulnerable figure for better or worse without probably that intent. Because you want to be shrewd during negotiations and you want to make sure you're protected. But at the end of the day, like this is not something that they want to enter the season with. Again, it should be more simple than it is. It is simple. Downloading DraftKings Sportsbook app. If we can put odds on the Arizona Cardinals speaking tomorrow, we would, but you can't. But you can do other phenomenal bets on DraftKings. Kyler Murray plus 2,000 to win league MVP. Look out. I think he's going to be motivated. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use that promo code PHNX. Make your first deposit. Get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's promo code PHNX. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. I want to remind everybody who's watching, thank you. Like this video, smash it, subscribe to the PHNX Cardinals podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. Bo Brock, I was giving my daughter a bath. We were ready for bedtime routine. And you said, my friend, it's time to go live. And I'm like, damn it, he's right.
Yeah. I was not expecting this. Some have been called me the office jinx that we weren't going to talk today because this was the same day. It was just hours ago that Kyler Murray just spontaneously showed up in the Arizona Cardinals press conference room after day 2 of training camp to kind of clap back at the people speculating on why the addendum was truly in there. And, we got to keep in perspective here too, that this organization, with this move, and I don't think it was ever the intention to force Kyler Murray to watch film that he wasn't watching. Like this, Kyler Murray, I think, kind of righted that ship and corrected that story. He watches film. He said it's disrespectful to say he hasn't. It's pretty absurd to think that he could get to where he's gotten without watching film. You have to take in consideration, the gravity of this deal for the organization. And also the fact that, he's got a side hustle. He's got other things that can maybe distract him. And the team wanted to cover his ass as far as making this deal with Kyler Murray. And it was something that they didn't anticipate, that they should have. And it's just a black eye for the team.
If you had told Arizona Cardinal fans after 2018 that you're going to get the first overall pick, you're going to use it on a quarterback, he's going to elevate you, he's going to make the Pro Bowl twice, he's going to win Rookie of the Year, right? He's going to get you to the playoffs. This should be a celebratory time. You're going to extend him for the first quarterback since Jake the Snake Plummer. Hell yeah, let's go. And instead, and he's only 25, right? And his best football's ahead of him. And your GM and your coach got extended. Now the GM, the coach, people may push back at that, but this should be a celebratory time for a team that's ready to rally and get back to the postseason and do something this time. And instead, it's about we've embarrassed, indirectly or directly, we've embarrassed our quarterback. I wonder what those conversations were like with Michael Bidwell. Just supposedly, from people that we know. Kyle Odegaard's put this out on Twitter, friend of our show, who does a phenomenal job with his site. I think it's bets.us or our bets. Basically stating that he's heard that people tried to talk Michael Bidwell out of doing this. I wonder what those conversations were like, and if people had the foresight to say, like, national media outlets, reporters are going to run with this, and it's not going to reflect kindly on Kyler. Maybe we should pump the brakes here. And man, Mr. B, Michael B, he's batted a very high percentage as the Cardinals team president and owner, and this is just a miss on his part.
Huge miss. Yeah, huge miss. And, you surround yourself with people you trust. And if they're telling you, and a bunch of them are telling him, hey, let's maybe kind of drop this. This isn't the hill to die on. What are those people in place for? So I'll reiterate this. Like, I think Michael Bidwell, obviously, he wants this organization to win. I mean, and he's going to do everything with his power to do that. But he's obviously susceptible to making some bad moves, just like any of us. But this one, at this moment in this franchise's history, and the player, the caliber of Kyler Murray, who's done nothing but improve each and every year, and this organization's improved with him. It's a bad time to have a bad day at the office for Michael Bidwell.
Rashad Johnson, former Arizona Cardinals safety, took to Twitter saying it's a flat out joke. But really, who's surprised with the Arizona Cardinals that really know the organization? Rashad Johnson, phenomenal safety for the Arizona Cardinals during their peak years with Bruce Arians. Yeah,
Nine and
that's
a half
unfortunate.
fingers. The guy
Yeah,
lost the tip of his fingers.
I hope to God Kyler Murray is not one of those players like a Patrick Peterson that leaves the organization on poor footing, sour grapes. We need more Cardinals to leave the organization with fond memories, with good things to say about this franchise, not to sabotage their young quarterback's contract extension. Good hell. Let's get to some of these comments here. Joel in the chat. I know Bidwell wanted the clause, but could Keim really have pushed back on it, or think he just would have been overruled? I don't think. I don't know if Steve was pro or against it, but I think if Michael Bidwell wanted it, it was going to be in there.
It's incredible to me that it made it in. It was signed off on. It made it as far as it did. I feel like there was enough leverage to get a deal done without that. And I think maybe all parties involved didn't think it was going to become public knowledge.
I agree with that. I think Kyler and his agent and Eric Burkhart made some missteps this offseason. Eric Burkhart probably should have never allowed this to get out, embarrassing his client yet again. But I do think everybody involved thought that this would be much less severe than it was, that this would just kind of skate under the radar a little bit.
Can they chalk it up as a misunderstanding? Is that possible? Does that reality exist? Can they just be like, look, we all agreed on it. We know who he is. We know that you know who he is.
They put video games in a $230 million contract. I don't know if that's possible. Video games and browsing the internet. It sounds like tablet time for my 7-year-old son when he gets home from second grade. That's how it was written out.
Your kids are hoping you would take the addendum out of their contract. They went back to those tablets.
Well, and here's the other issue. It's allowed people, national pundits, talking heads, to come out of the woodwork saying, yep, I've heard this about Kyler Murray. If anybody was going to say it about any of this 32 starting QBs, it would have been Kyler Murray. And even if that's true, right, that can be true, right? But if you are committing to him and you guys want to make a deal, you can't have it both ways. You can't admit Kyler's got a problem, but also here's a bunch of monies, right? You can't do that. You either say, we're going to commit to him. We trust our infrastructure here in Glendale, Arizona, with the Arizona Cardinals, that we will get the best out of him and he will raise his game because we are an organization on the rise. Or you say, whoops, let's trade him for 4 first-round picks. We may take a bunch of heat, but it's time to move on. You can't say, here's $130 million guaranteed. Here's a video game clause. You can't do it. You got to be a big boy and pick one or the other. Have some confidence in yourself and your organization that you will be able to get the most of him. And that's where I feel like, and I love Kliff, but that's where Kliff has to come in and be like, I'll take care of this. Don't put that in there. I will get the most out of Kyler Murray because we are lockstep. We are synced together. I know the kind of competitor and person he is.
Yeah, I mean, and it goes back to trusting the people that you're putting in place to run your company. I mean, Kyler Murray is the face of this franchise, and if you're trusting him enough to really ante up to $230.5 million, you should trust that he's going to put in the work on the side. You don't have to put in silly addendum like they did. The Kliff Kingsbury point, Kyler Murray, after he made his about 4-minute statement today, he fielded some questions. He wanted to keep it focused on football. Of course, it always went back to the addendum and some, under a cloud that the respective reporters could sneak it in. But somebody asked him about Kliff Kingsbury, and he said, that guy's gone to bat for me. Basically, that guy is more than anybody else in his pro career, amateur career, back to his high school days since he was 15. This was a guy that's been there even more than anybody else. And, there's clearly the trust there with him and Kliff Kingsbury. Then you might be onto something that he could have just been like, look, I got that part. We'll make sure that that's not an issue. I know it's his side hustle. It's more than that. It's not, his side hustle makes more than any of us make it usually in our day jobs. So It's something that needs to be taken seriously, but I think there's a way to take it seriously without, a silly addendum.
Get a couple more reads in here, Mr. Bobra. COVID-19 vaccines are free for everyone 5 and older. Those 12 and older are now eligible for a booster. Visit azhealth.gov/find vaccine for a location near you.
Also, we had a blast out of Four Peaks, and it's situations like this that'll drive you drinking. Why not do with some quality beer like Four Peaks? My God, you've got Kilt Lifter, you've got the Wow, Joy Bus Wheat, Hop Knot. You like the IPAs out there, you can do it. You got the barrel aged stuff. It's fantastic.
I need it all
Four
tonight.
Peaks.
Give all of it to me.
Come on, let's go. Back it up. Give me $230 million worth of Four Peaks beer. You just go down there. They're open, and I think until 10 tonight. You go hang out, get a beer, get some food, drink your sorrows away at Four Peaks. Of course, you must be 21 years or older, and of course, drink responsibly. Don't just go there and start forcing addendums on people.
Sly. Bidwell will have to give Kyler his jet. Soccer shoes, guys. Kyler agreed to it when he signed the contract. That's true. If Kyler wasn't okay with it, then he wouldn't have signed it. Player contracts are in an NFL portal for media to see, so both sides knew it would leak. I think Kyler probably said, well, I'm going to do this anyway. I'm going to get my money. I'm probably going to get – I know he is getting more money today than he asked for in February. So he's probably like, whatever, I'll do this. Like, who cares if this is a sticking point? But in the grand scheme, but that's when your big boy agent has to come and be like, hang on, K1, if this gets out, your big boy agent with Rock Nation and Jay-Z has to step in and say, no, we're not signing this. And to Bo's point, I do not think it would have been a sticking point with Michael Bidwell and company. You get that far, they're probably like, okay, fine, just please study up. They're not making it an issue. But I think that shows ignorance on Eric Burkhardt's part. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, for a duo or a camp that had a ton of leverage, you would think that that's something that they could work out because it's so unprecedented. It's something that hasn't happened. It's not an Apple iOS upgrade you're not agreeing to what you do with Apple, Sly. I mean, it's something that you can read through and make sure, like, hey, this thing about the video games thing and the independent study, and this ain't going to work for us. We're going to ask for the $230.5 million without that. Just like the other quarterbacks who are my peers that statistically I compare with, I want those deals, and I can get it. If I can't get it here, I'll get it elsewhere.
Shane Diefenbach saying in our chat, Chad, I think I just want to adjust my picks from our division preview. Now, Johnny, Shane picked the Cardinals to do well this year. Listen, I'm very confident in something, and that's K1 is going to light the NFL world on fire this year after this whole debacle. I do not think he's going to run back to his Xbox or his PlayStation, whatever it is. I think I think the damage has been done to Kyler's ego, and I'm with Bo. I think the likelihood is Kyler plays at an MVP type level this season and quiets everybody else and puts more of the spotlight on this franchise. And then next offseason, he could be coming back to the negotiating table. This move, I don't think it's hyperbole to say, could have cost the Cardinals more millions of dollars in the process. More millions of dollars that they will have to commit to Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, like Aaron Rodgers once upon a time, Brett Hundley gets drafted, disrespectful to Aaron Rodgers, right? They didn't call him, right? I think they called him right before. They didn't tell him he was on their board. It's not apples to oranges, but you know what I'm getting at here. Rodgers goes out like, hired assassin and wins an MVP and has all the leverage now. You can't get rid of me. Kyler Murray taking it to the Cardinals this year by winning them a bunch of games and throwing up a bunch of stats could say, hey, you know what? Give me the guaranteed money that Deshaun Watson got, or I'm gone.
Yeah. You meant Jordan Love, or are you talking about Hundley before that?
Oh, did I say Hundley? Yeah, Jordan Love with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, the first round pick. Yeah, unreal scenario. But like, you're giving leverage to a guy who, I mean, a very impressive resume in Kyler Murray, but you're giving that type of leverage to him, an MVP caliber leverage like Aaron Rodgers had at that moment. Like he really can. Like I said, I think the player empowerment thing is key. You see it happen in the NBA, and it's coming to the NFL. And a guy like Kyler Murray could certainly command the world, including his way out of Arizona, if there's any more missteps along the way. Now, I don't think Kyler Murray, unless he trusts his organization, would take the podium like he did today. I mean, he obviously wanted to go out there and defend himself, but he also didn't throw his organization under the bus. And I think that, the goodwill between these two sides, despite, what's going on and what the media perceives, like, it seems like they're in a good place. And for this to work and for them to have success this year, they have to be in a good place. Like, they have to make sure that they have paid, I guess, their penance for the missteps taken in this negotiation.
Here are two different hypotheticals the Cardinals could do tomorrow, I think, to alleviate three that they could do to alleviate a lot of this. Number one, Michael Bidwell, Steve Keim take the podium and announce, we screwed up, we take ownership, we love Kyler, this is on us, please give us a mulligan on this one, we take the heat, just like, as you mentioned, Steve Wilkes. Number two, they make a splash addition in free agency, they sign Odell Beckham, right? They move the headlines off of Kyler Murray, they get the fans excited, or they announce new uniforms. Those are the only three scenarios tomorrow in which I will accept from the Cardinals that they fudged up and we're moving on. But in all seriousness, we've got Joel in the chat a little bit ago, Leah, how come players stay with the Cardinals for years, Bo, then when they leave, they bash the organization?
And I don't think that the Arizona Cardinals are like singled out here. I think that it happens a ton in football. It's a cap league and business decisions are made. And guys who hit certain age, sometimes they're just not treated finally. They're just not. And guys remember that. And so, but you can't be oblivious to it. Like Kyler Murray, this situation obviously just happened. You see guys like Calais Campbell, the greatest guys in the world. They don't bring him back. Patrick Peterson obviously has his problem with this organization. Tyrann Mathieu has a big time problem with this organization. So, it's a trend that you hope isn't, the norm. You hope it's just a few bad exceptions, but I don't know. I don't know how you really have to decide for yourself, what's going on with these players and why they're upset with this organization, and the people making the decisions have to figure out whether or not there's legitimacy to them, and if how much of the fault is on them.
My God, CJ Mack in the chat, has it come to this scenario with Kyler Murray? This is worse than Urban Meyer being an NFL coach. I hope that this hasn't come to this. Clubbing at
but you know what,
after a loss,
it is a big national blunder. Like it is on par with. I think I don't think it's just big because it's in our backyard. Like it's
the number one story on ESPN today.
Yeah.
I'm looking up ex-Cardinals here to see who is tweeting because I would imagine a lot, according to the people in the chat, people are coming out in the woodwork. And again, like we know how brash Steve Keim can be. Michael Bidwell has always been pro player. That's why none of this makes sense. He's always pro player. He's always, putting his arms around players. And he, as you put it so eloquently so many times, peak players he pays. He paid Patrick Peterson. He paid Chandler Jones, right? He paid Larry Fitzgerald multiple times. Don't you put that on us, Shane. Never.
You're trying to say something nice. If this becomes a clip and we've got that silliness on the bottom, Urban Meyer to the Cardinals injected in my veins, and you're actually telling something quite nice about the ownership and trying to defend them in a way. The only thing that's defensible.
They don't let elite players leave. They pay them.
Right.
And Michael's always done that. The MO with his father was, and Frank can attest to this, they let players go and they didn't pay guys. And we saw that. Goodness, we saw that. So it's been a breath of fresh air with Michael. He pays everybody. They usually use up most of their salary cap. It's weird that they have $10 million floating around right now. So like Kyler Murray makes them relevant, makes them prime time, gets them to the point where they're in the playoffs, or contending every year for the postseason. You just pay those kind of people. You don't go through hoops and create this circus, right? But I can tell you right now, this is the biggest lesson learned for this organization. Their contract negotiations moving forward with agents, when the Cardinals have premium players to pay, it's going to be difficult for them to have leverage outside of dollars and cents. Any specialty language that's gone. It's very much going to be cut and dry. Like this is this player's worth. This is what you have to pay me. And they may have to overpay for guys now, Bo, just for a little bit to wash this stank, to wash the stain off of this organization. The overpay may be coming. You may be having to cut extra checks you didn't want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it unlevels the playing field in the wrong direction for your team when it comes to luring in big talent, keeping big talent in town. So I'll tell you this. I mean, there could be one, outside of Kyler Murray, there's another savior for the Arizona Cardinals as far as who could come to bat for
You're
them.
gonna pick up the bat phone.
The
tomorrow?
Time of need. Yes, you say, Larry Fitz, one more time. Announce your retirement, sign the one-day contract, bring some goodwill back to this organization. You did it for 17 damn years. One more time. We'll even give you like a $1 million one-day contract. Like, just come here, get out in front of a podium.
Wouldn't that look so obvious, though, what they're doing and disingenuous?
They need it. They need anything. I mean, it would be tough to fool the fan base now, but it would slow people down because people want to celebrate Fitz. And if he says, let's do it now, people are going to pay attention.
I thought you were going to say, get Fitz in the building tomorrow to just pub up Kyler Murray or something like that. Retirement ceremony, you can't rush that. You can't. Well, can we get Fitz like at the presser with Kime and Michael tomorrow, just kind of hanging? That's what I pick up the bat phone, just say, hey, Larry, can you just come hang tomorrow?
I got a better idea then. Fine.
Okay.
All right. So if you're gonna poo-poo the Larry Fitz retirement tour to save face, just get some OGs. Just get some OGs and start, handing it out to fans. Of course, they're 21 years or older because you must be 21 years or older. Purchase the great cannabis from OG's brands. They launched their first ever limited edition seasonal flavor, which is Pina Colada, which is a delicious just blend of pineapple and coconut. Check out OG's, of course, ogsbrands.com. That's ogezbrands.com. You can find all of their delicious flavors and products. Follow them on Instagram at ogsbrands. That's at ogsbrands. And you can find their products, of course, in your local dispensary. You must be 21 years or older to purchase.
Cole in the chat, I agree with you. This franchise needs to hire a crisis communications team. Yeah, what do you call it? I don't even know what I'm trying to say here. Like a task force. You need a task force put together. You need like 7 people in a room at State Farm Stadium and putting out pins and rubber bands everywhere and thinking, we got to go here. We got to do this. We got to do this. We got to make an appearance here. We got to send the X player out into the community for goodwill. I don't think that's going to happen. I think our little statement, I would agree with Bo, 3-4 sentence statement from Adam Schefter is all we get. Did we get that statement, or did that just go to the big boy media?
We didn't get that statement. I was wondering where the hell this statement came from, but the insiders, Schefter and Ian Rappaport, both had it. It was nothing that because I usually, obviously, on the Cardinals email chain here, didn't get anything as far as that statement from the organization regarding the Kyler Murray.
That text message probably went to about 5 people.
Yep.
5 people. The people who have different font on it, they got their own copies, and then the rest of us just have to ask permission and then source and then put it on there.
Different font. I think it was just like Rap Sheet. It's interesting. He's a dark mode, and then Schefter is a light mode kind of guy.
Wow.
Can you take anything from that?
That's a lasting impression right now. For me, the chat's popping off. We love it. We love the engagement. This has been a hot mess disaster, but it's made all the better by you, PHNX Cardinal faithful. I want to remind everybody, please go and check out gophnx.com. Become a member. Bo just dropped an exclusive article pertaining to today's practice, who's looking good, who's, coming back from injury, what the plan is maybe for Isaiah Simmons. You can check that out right now. gophnx.com. 99 cents for the first month, $8.99 for the subsequent month, or become a member for the year, just under $60. Cop a free t-shirt from the PHNX merchandise locker. We're going to have reports constantly coming from training camp. Bo and I are going to be there Saturday hanging out together. Let's talk about this hot mess disaster together. Let's push through it, and we'll all be better for it. But we appreciate the engagement today because it's been a lot of fun.
Sure. Bo. It's been fun. It's been a banner day. Obviously good publicity, bad publicity. Any publicity is good publicity. And as far as this team goes, like you mentioned our stories at gophnx.com. We try to be as relevant as possible, but can we, for God's sake, keep up with this news cycle? It's outpacing us. I mean, I can't even come home and have dinner with my family. So hopefully we don't have to drop an emergency.
It's over for that. That time has passed. I said, it's like I sent you before. It's like RIP, good night moon tonight. That wasn't happening. We did the old speed rush bath. I don't know how clean my daughter is in her crib. God help her. My son, I still haven't put him to bed. He's in his room doing Legos. That's not going to go well with my significant other. But you know what? We do it for you because we love you all. So be sure, like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review. Like this video right now because this is the only podcast, ladies and gentlemen, goes live. You got a podcast every single day. PHNX Cardinals, 4 p.m. Bo, you'll be back at Cardinals HQ tomorrow. That'll be a fun day.
It will. I think that unfortunately there's going to be, if Bidwell doesn't get up there, if Kime doesn't get up there, people like Kliff Kingsbury are going to have to be asked the questions. Obviously, I don't think we're going to be able to get the answers that people are demanding, but we'll also get back to football as far as football questions and, who's flashing and.
Just send Antoine Wesley up there first thing first tomorrow. Be like, hey guys, Mulligan, my bad. Here's a twizzle. We bumped him yesterday for K1. Nothing to see here.
Poor 13. He's gonna have to just take more flack from the organization. We'll see. If we learn anything, obviously you'll want to follow at PHNX_Cardinals. We'll have it all tweeted out for you as soon as it happens.
I want to remind everybody, like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. We're back tomorrow with the great Frank Sanders. Thank you guys so much for popping in tonight. We will see you, unless something else happens, 4 p.m. tomorrow. Don't miss it. Bye-bye.